This is Life Lessons, the Gintama Manga Cast, episode 55. We are a podcast dedicated not only to talking about Gintama, but talking about Gintama through the manga, through the Old English Viz release, which is unfortunately discontinued, but, you know, it's still out there. You could buy it, and you could buy whatever Viz put out and follow along with us on the show. On this episode, we have special guest, stand-up comedian from Seattle, I believe, right?
Yep. Lisa
Wallen. How you doing, Lisa?
Hi. I'm doing great.
So, I never thought I'd have a stand-up comedian on the show. I have a lot that I want to talk to you about before we actually get onto the show, but, you know, I'm going to spend some time talking to Lisa basically about her profession a little bit and her anime fandom, how she's been liking Gintama, because you've been watching that a little bit recently.
Yes.
And basically after that, as for the manga, we're going to be covering Chapter 81 of the manga. If you go to sleep with the fan on, you'll get a stomachache, so be careful. And then we're going to be talking about the chapter title in the Life Lesson segment. And I think I'm probably going to just talk about the anime throughout the manga recap today, just because I don't think there's enough material to really warrant its own anime manga comparison segment today. So there probably won't be that. I'll just talk about it throughout the manga recap, and then I think that's going to be about it for the show. But Lisa, let's just get started with the show. Let's talk about Lisa.
Let's talk about me.
So you are, like I said, you are a stand-up comedian.
Yes.
What is that like?
It's stressful sometimes. Every day I want to quit, and then when I do a show, I'm like, why do I want to quit? I don't want to quit. I've been doing stand-up comedy for about 3 years now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I've been serious about it for maybe like a year and a half. Yeah, it's an interesting field to try to get a career in, because you don't get much money at all, and it's probably, I mean, I would say like the number one fear in the world is probably public speaking, but it's even harder when you're trying to sell yourself to people through laughter, and it's interesting, but I love it. And there's a love-hate relationship with it, but for the most part, I enjoy it. It's made me a lot more sociable and more of a people person since I've started.
Huh, an anime fan that's both a comedian and a people person. You don't see that too often. Yeah,
you don't. I have a couple comedian friends that watch anime, but they're not nearly, like, obsessive like me, where it consumes your whole life.
And hey, if it makes you feel any better, people in the anime industry don't make a lot of money to begin with anyway, so...
Sweet. I'm already planning on being broke, so there you go.
Oh, wow. But yeah, I guess you're also, from your social media presence, it seems like you're kind of known for being that comedian who likes anime, at least from what I understand.
More so the comedian that loves Zelda.
That's it too.
But anime, I've been into anime for forever, but I didn't even start getting into like Annie Twitter until I joined Twitter for comedy, and then I discovered the anime portion of it, and then really was like, okay, this is where my new life is. Because I can't talk about anime on Facebook really, because none of my friends watch it, and then I discovered Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, same here. I used to post a lot about Twitter through anime through my personal Facebook as well. Some of my best friends used to come up to me and would actually be like, why do you post so much anime shit? Like, that's all you ever post about? And I'm just sitting here, you know, watching my friend ask me that, and me just thinking, well, you post about fucking hockey all the time, or heavy metal, or Zelda, or whatever, and I don't say anything. You can post whatever you want, doesn't really bother me. And that's part of the reason I kind of went to Twitter too, is because people actually gave a shit about what I had to say about anime, which is great. So, you know,
well, yeah, and the people who are into it are really into it, just like people who are into wrestling, you know. It's which is kind of the same thing. No,
trust me, I know a lot of people who are into both.
Yeah, me too. It's pretty funny. Most comedians I know are into wrestling. Like, that's the big thing, which is interesting to me because I didn't hear about wrestling since I was 12. And then when I say that, they go, well, I haven't watched anime since I was 12. I was like, okay, well, I guess we're on the same page.
So I'm going to venture a guess and say that you've been into anime longer than you've been in your profession.
Oh, yes. Well, I guess I recently started getting into anime again about 3 or 4 years ago. I was really into it when I was in, like, junior high. By that, I just mean I was really into Sailor Moon. And then it was I think probably right after I turned 21. I'm 27 now. I started watching, like, Naruto. And then I was like, I don't know if I really like this. And then it wasn't until years later when it was farther into the series that I was like, okay, I really want to watch this. And then I started getting into everything else. So it was like right when Attack on Titan manga was really popular. So like 2012, maybe 2013.
Around then, yeah.
Yeah. But that was, and then ever since then, I've just been kind of gross watching anime. So
I guess for those who may not know, just out of curiosity, what would you say is your favorite anime?
Oh, Hunter x Hunter. I mean, that was easy. I would say also the Naruto, like the first series, before they had the time skip.
Yeah.
And if you take out the fillers, of course, too.
Yeah, like the 80 episodes worth of filler.
Yeah, it's like 90 something. I was like, Jesus. Yeah, those are definitely my top two. And then it kind of ventures off into more like Gurren Lagann. It's probably in my top. Food Wars is definitely up there. I would say I'm mostly into shonens.
You're a woman after my own heart.
Yeah, right. I remember I've been writing down every anime I've watched in the last like 4 years. I think I'm up to like 50 something. Yeah, so there's still so many out there, and that's what's just like, it's a never-ending journey of watching anime,
I guess, like, is there anything that you haven't gotten to that you're really interested in watching?
The rest of Gintama.
Hey, that's a good answer.
And also, even though I'm not extremely interested in the series, I do feel like I need to watch One Piece more.
Yeah, One Piece I can say is pretty good. I've as someone who's been into it for a very long time, it's definitely still one of my favorite shows. Though I will say I'm not as big a fan of the anime as I used to be, just because the anime nowadays, we're lucky if it covers more than 2 chapters of manga at a time. So the pace is pretty unbearable, like week to week. But I still love the manga very much. So there's that.
Yeah, I after going to Japan in October, that there's One Piece everywhere, and I was like, okay, clearly this is something I need to get into. So one day.
Oh yeah, it's a huge damn phenomenon over there. There are like One Piece toiletries there. I've seen pictures of like One Piece toilet paper and One Piece tampons. Yes, those exist.
There's One Piece restaurants. Yes,
and like One Piece gift shops, and it's like it's a cultural phenomenon over there. Like it's just a part of the culture over there. Like no big deal. Kind of like how stuff like I want to say like the Peanuts are just a part of our culture over here and whatnot.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. It's like The Simpsons, I would say, over there.
Yeah,
that's how much paraphernalia you'd see, and it was really funny. Like go to Japan, see how their perspective on anime is like.
That's right. I forgot that you were telling me on Twitter that you did just go to Japan a few months ago.
I did.
Now, how was that?
Incredible. Best vacation I've ever been on. We didn't stay that long. We only went for 9 or 10 days because the round trip tickets were really cheap, but I did everything I could to eat ramen at different places every day. And checked out Akihabara, which is the anime capital of the world.
Yes.
Went to the manga museum, went to the jump stores. Like we went to J-World. We did everything you could do that was basically anime related in 9 days.
As someone who is very into manga, I'm very jealous. I didn't know you went to the manga museum. That's amazing. I'm sure it was great.
It was pretty cool. I mean, it's small, but I mean, we went to the one in Kyoto. I don't know if there's other ones. We just saw it randomly, like on a map, but it was really cool. They had different types of artists and like what their original drawings look like, And I kind of wish I was more into manga because I'm more into anime than I am manga, and I really wish I was more into manga. And it's just a lot harder to find, and it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I feel like manga used to be a little more affordable over here, like a few years ago. I remember One Piece actually when I first started buying that only cost like $7.95 a volume, and then like a few years after I got into One Piece, I guess it's mostly Viz at the time started upping their prices to like $9.99 for most of their stuff. So it took me even longer to like catch up with One Piece at that point. About 2 years, no big deal. Bought about 40 volumes within the next 2 years after that. But yeah, so I guess I think you mentioned also that you went to J World.
Yes.
So you have to tell me about that.
Oh gosh. It was awesome because it isn't a big tourist attraction, which we weren't expecting. We were literally maybe 10 people there. You know, there's us 2 and 10 other people there, and they have like a whole One Piece land, a Naruto land, a Dragon Ball Z area, and they have like these awesome games, like amusement games, like, you know, little arcade games, but you could tell it's totally Japan's ideas. It like we did the Shinobi War one from Naruto, and you walk into these weird rooms. It's like a laser tag type of thing. You have to defeat each member.
What? That sounds cool.
Yeah. And the one part that was hilarious is at the end you have to like get the tailed beast, you know, away from Obito, and you throw Rasengans at the screen, and the Rasengans are just little blue bouncy balls. And then when you hit the screen, they disappear because their technology is way better than ours. And then there's, of course, is it Zetsu? Is that his name?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, Zetsu. There's like these Zetsu clones, and they're punching bags, and you have to punch them. Like, It's pretty, like, kiddish, but it's super fun. And then there's another game where we had to, like, summon different beasts. It was just... The One Piece one was really cool, because they had, like, kind of, like, It's a Small World After All, but you were on a boat, and it was, like, a horror theme because it was Halloween.
Oh, cool.
And I wasn't into One Piece, but we still did the ride, and they just had all these random characters come out and try to scare you, and it was pretty cool.
That's interesting. I feel like I have a feeling how I know how they would like dress up that attraction, considering that at some point they actually do come across an island full of zombies and weird creatures and whatnot. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, I guess just I forget. I know we probably talked about this off mic, but what was the Gintama stuff like there? If you happen to see any.
Oh my gosh. Obviously, Japan's kind of known for having arcades, and every single arcade, you know how they have those little crane games?
Yeah.
Every single crane game had, like, Gintama figures in them.
I'm sure.
And in J-World, they have narrators, and Gin was, like, the narrator.
Oh, that's amazing.
So his voice, and of course there's no, like, subtitles, so I just hear him, like, screaming.
That is Gin. That sounds like him. And
there's a whole, like, Gintama, like, area set up. I think I showed you pictures where they're all in, like, Halloween costumes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, like, life-size statues of all the characters, but, like, even in the grocery store, they had, like, Gintama, like, rice pudding, Gintama candy, Gintama, like, all sorts of, like, weird desserts. So I didn't realize that series was so big over there.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's not like One Piece big, but it's still pretty big.
Honestly, it felt bigger than any other anime besides One Piece. Like, Naruto wasn't big there at all, which was interesting because it was right during the final battle. That was kind of the theme of J-World.
Interesting.
But Gintama stuff was everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh, they love Gintama. And Buzz Lightyear was another big one there, which was interesting. It was like...
But Buzz Lightyear, that was a franchise they had over there?
I don't know. Like, there is One Piece Gintama, and then there's Buzz Lightyear action figures everywhere. Buzz Lightyear Gundams, Buzz Lightyear posters.
Whoa, really? I didn't realize Buzz Lightyear was such a popular character in Japan, apparently.
I didn't. Maybe they just love Tim Allen. I don't know.
I wonder how they would feel about Home Improvement.
Right. Well, yeah, it was interesting, and it's part of the reason why I kind of got back into the series and why I want to get into One Piece is because, like, obviously these are the two most respected anime series in Japan. Because if you go to anime stores there, since it's normal there, everything's kind of seasonal. So when you went to, like, the Jump store, Haikyuu and, like, My Hero Academia were, like, the two big series that they're promoting.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because you can't buy My Hero stuff in the US, so we stocked up.
Hey, I mean, give it time. My Hero Academia is, it's getting its feet wet. I think there'll come a time when you'll be able to buy, like, figures and stuff, and maybe give it a couple years.
Oh yeah, and I know that Funko Pop is trying to buy license for it right now.
Oh, interesting, okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be a bigger series, but it was kind of cool going to Japan and seeing, like, you know, how we in America, our big series are like Rick and Morty, you know? So we have Rick and Morty stuff everywhere, but there it was like My Hero. So I was like, oh, it's
yeah,
cool.
Like they even just recently had like a Rick and Morty art exhibit, and I wish I could find the tweet, but like the art exhibit, the venue that was held at was talking about how it was bigger than like all these other art exhibits for other like properties that they had, and it was really interesting to hear how much support that had gotten. But that's a whole other thing. So I guess it sounds like J-World was fun. So I guess just before we get on to the rest of the show, I still want to talk to you about a few more things. First off, how are you liking Gintama so far, just in general?
I love it. I mean, I watched the first, I'd say like the first, what is it, like 30 episodes where we're still kind of introducing the characters in the series.
Yep, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because I forget almost everyone's name. But then I just recently started watching it again, and I'm on episode 60. I'm on the second episode of the
Benizakura.
Yeah, Benizakura arc. So, they just, infiltrated the ship, so that's the part that I'm at right now. And it's I love how goofy and over the top. It's my favorite type of comedy because it's so different than what I'm used to. I'm so used to, like, dry, sarcastic humor that you see and everything. And that's, like, the big thing now, at least in American television. So it is nice to see more of, like, the goofier humor in Japan. You know, I just watched the episodes where they had the go to the host club. And the guy was like, Maru-chan became a mother. And then he, like, left. And then him and, like, all of his buddies were, like, sitting around staring at this mom and her puppies. I was like, what the hell? It's such a great show. I love it. And I think it's definitely I'm looking for a new series to binge because I've been watching so many, like, shorter series lately. So I think Gintama is just going to be that series.
Well, that's great to hear, and it's really interesting to hear your thoughts on the comedy, especially since because I feel like Gintama has a touch of that very deadpan humor when it wants to, though.
Oh yeah, I mean and every once in a while, especially Gin, like, as a character, that's just who he is. He's just kind of like this more stable, unless he's stuck in a situation he doesn't want to be. But as far as, like, his humor goes, it's very just, like, trying to think of a word. I would say it's a little more dry than a lot of the other characters. Yeah,
I think that's a good way to put it. So I guess, yeah, just like, I guess we're kind of talking about it now, but I guess, yeah, just as a stand-up comedian, I guess it must be very interesting to watch something like Gintama.
Oh, definitely. Me, personally, like, I'm not really into watching stand-up comedy. I actually wasn't really into it when I started comedy. I was just a big fan of sketch. Like, I love seeing sketch writers and seeing how people, like, write series. Like, the one that really actually got me into comedy was The Office.
There you go.
Because I grew up watching Friends and Seinfeld, which were, like, very, like, slapstick, punchline, laugh break, and
very sitcom-y.
very sitcom-y, 90s sitcom-y, and then going into more like The Office and Parks and Rec, where it's more like dry and like subtle humor. So I love seeing how humor like evolves over time. And that's why I really started getting into comedy. And then I started getting into anime again. And seeing how culturally, like, the Japanese animation, how the comedy's like in there compared to, like, American, like, we like raunchy cartoons, you know what I mean? Like, we like Rick and Morty and, like, South Park type of stuff.
Yeah, and Family Guy and whatnot.
Family Guy, stuff that really, like, gets to issues that bug you, things that are more serious. So I do like how Gintama kind of does that in a cultural aspect. Like, they always have, like, little things on the top of the screen where what they're referring to. But
yeah, Gintama is not afraid of doing its own satire every once in a while.
But it's a lot more refreshing because just when you think they're not going to continue a joke, they continue with it, and it's hilarious.
Sorachi really knows how to, like, just take the ball and just keep rolling it.
Yeah, it's almost like watching a meme.
No, leave that to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That's the meme anime.
Yeah, JoJo's is just all over the place. But, I mean, sometimes they take a joke and they make it bigger, and then I don't know where that joke is going. I'm like, okay, now series has just gotten ridiculous. But I love JoJo. But Gintama itself, like, they always, like, I'm trying to think of the example. Like the Host Club one, where he was like, oh, I want to get this done so I can go see my puppies. And then he gets pissed off because his dog had puppies, and he goes, and they're just sitting around, like, staring at puppies. I was like, oh my god, they actually went on with this joke.
Okay. Now I'm starting to remember what you're talking about now, because that character, unfortunately, is not around very often.
Yeah, and I know you've seen a lot more farther ahead in the series than I have, and I know they actually just recently started, season 4?
More or less.
Yeah. But also, same thing when they had the baby, when they thought that was Gin's baby.
Yeah, we actually just covered that on the podcast previously.
It was, they continued with that, and, but they always have, like, some sort of, like, heartwarming message, too, at the end, which is really interesting to me, is that they get really goofy, but they always, like, wind up kind of being like, aww. Okay.
Yeah, I see. For me personally, I've always felt that Gintama is like if Family Guy were a little more thoughtful. Gintama has its share of pretty, like, gross, raunchy humor too. Like, Gintama is not afraid to have their female characters throw up. I mean, thankfully, unlike Family Guy, they kind of keep that to a minimum. They don't, like,
they talk about how their panties are stained and soaked.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty gross, but, like, I feel like Family Guy also is just, like I said, Gintama is a lot more thoughtful, and, like, they're not just trying to, like, make stupid, like, cutaway jokes that don't really, like, relate to what's going on. Like Gintoki isn't going to be like, man, this is worse than that time I was in that hot dog eating contest. Like...
And not only that, like, American humor, especially in cartoons, is more about shock value more than anything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's see how far we can take this joke without getting in trouble with the network. But Gintama doesn't really do that. Like, they do have raunchy humor, but it's not uncomfortable. Or it's like, okay, they didn't have to do that,
Yeah, like, Gintama knows when to... I don't know if I want to say when to quit, because I'm actually not sure if that statement's true.
They know how to make... I would say they know how to make it more tasteful.
Compared to Family Guy, sure. Otherwise, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say tasteful, because it is still kind of gross. But I don't know. It's a weird line to walk. But, like, the thing that kind of gets me about Family Guy in particular is that, like, every once in a while they try to have, like, I remember they did an entire episode about, like, how the family, like, treats Meg or whatever, because, Meg is the butt of the joke, and that's the joke. And I remember they had an entire episode just, like, of her finally, like, backlashing against her entire family and just pointing out all their flaws, and, like, they try to have, like, the serious character thing or whatever, and it doesn't really work, because, like...
I know what episode you're talking about.
There's no I mean, I guess in their way, maybe there is build up to it. I don't know.
Well,
There's no emotional build up to it. Like you can't really like take it seriously, and it feels like a very like hard left turn into a different tone. Like it clashes tonally, especially when you have like Stewie being like, "Oh hey, I said a catchphrase. Look, it's catching up on Twitter. Aren't I funny?" Like, and like it's just. I just don't feel like that works.
Well, also with anime versus, I guess, as far as like American cartoons go, is that they don't really want the audience to be emotionally involved with the characters.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see like a character in a cartoon, like I was telling my friend earlier this week that there's not really an American equivalent to anime because we don't really have, you know, comic book series turn into like long TV shows that really get you like captivated. And anime, for example, like all the characters you get pretty attached to because there's more depth than just like the comedy, which is another reason why I love Gintama so much is that they don't just make slapstick humor. It's like there's a lot of drama and seriousness and there's a lot of depth to each character. It's
not just a joke machine.
Yeah, exactly. Like you watch an episode of Family Guy and they'll be like, we'll talk about how Quagmire used to do this back in the day, but you don't really give a shit because he's a shitty character. But like, yeah, but like any anime character, they really focus on character development. So when something does seriously happen to him, you're like, oh shit, like, is he gonna die? I hope he doesn't die. If he dies, I'm gonna be so mad.
Yeah, Gintama does a lot of that too. As I'm sure you've been watching with Benny Zakura, but...
Well, yeah, I was like, damn, like, he really did just stab him. Is he gonna die? He can't die.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess in a way it might not be fair. Well, I don't know, because I like, it kind of hurts me a little bit, because I used to really, like, enjoy Family Guy, but also I was a teenager, I was, like, 14, and I used to think it was funny, but nowadays it just kind of feels lazy in a lot of respects with the writing and how like loosely the narrative kind of connects to the jokes. And I mean, that's just a lot of like, I think those are just a lot of animated comedies in general. Cause I feel like even The Simpsons are a little guilty of that nowadays, but you know, you also have stuff like, you know, Archer and Rick and Morty that are like legitimately funny.
Oh yeah.
And like you could tell have actual thought put into the humor and jokes.
They're all very well written, but I mean, I think once also you start getting into anime, like, you don't really stop. You know, like, I haven't watched, ever since I started, I don't think I've watched an actual real non-anime show since Breaking Bad. And then before that, I'm pretty sure with Dexter. Like, I've never seen, like, Game of Thrones or any stuff because... Mainly because they get ruined for me every season, but also I just don't want to watch an hour-long episode for everything.
Yeah, that's fair. I have trouble watching stuff that's like an hour long too. It takes a very special kind of show for me to want to invest an hour at a time for an episode. Lost was one of the few of them. I really enjoyed that when I got to watch that. I'm sure I could think of others, but I can't think of them right now. You know, I guess in conclusion, Gintama's good and it's funny.
Thumbs up. I recommend it to everyone so far, but I do want to finish the series and then maybe come onto this podcast again and give you like a whole breakdown on what I think.
Oh yeah.
And especially now that didn't they just start a new season a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, a newest season just started about a week or two ago. Actually, as soon as we're done recording the show today, I'm going to go watch a new episode.
I heard that, because I thought the series ended. I didn't know that they were still planning on making more.
Well, the manga is on its way out. Like, the manga's on its final arc, and, like, personally, I don't think it's going to make it past 2018, because it's just gotten to a point in the manga where, like, you can tell things are starting to wrap up, and Sorachi, the author, is kind of wrapping up a few character arcs at the moment. And, like, there's not a lot of ground left to cover. At this point, though, it's weird because a lot of people think that this new season is going to cover the final arc too, but the final arc at this point feels like it's kind of going at a slower pace, so it's not going to end like next month or anything. But like, you know, it's just kind of weird how it's been paced a little bit so far. And personally, I've been loving it. And I kind of don't want it to end too soon. Like, I'm basically just trying to enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, the good thing about this series versus other series is that you see a series like Naruto where, you know, it's an ongoing series and they're in the middle of like a big arc, and then all of a sudden they have these fillers that make no sense at all.
Yeah.
A show like Gintama can actually get away with that because of how it's you know, how it lays out as far as episodes go. Like, they could easily make probably a ton of fillers and people would still be really interested in the show because the show itself is so unordinary compared to other animes.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a few filler episodes here and there, and usually they're not bad at all. Like, I can't think of a like a filler episode of Gintama that I've ever actually like disliked. But yeah, so the manga, I think, will definitely end this year. Whether the anime will end this year, I'm actually not sure. A lot of people feel like this will be the last season. I don't think it will, just because the arc that they're covering right now is actually the longest arc in the series at about 40 chapters.
Oh, wow.
That's about a year's worth in the magazine. Yeah, so I've been hearing that's going to be about 12 or 13 episodes based on like Blu-ray and DVD listings or whatever, but I don't know for sure. I'm just kind of playing the wait and see game. I'm not super invested in like when it's going to end. I'm just kind of trying to enjoy it while it lasts, but it is still kind of interesting to like take a look at, you know, how much longer it's going to last. But yeah, there's a new season out. It's not a good jumping point at all, though. If you're going to try and start Gintama from this new season, don't. You will be super confused.
Oh yeah, no. I plan to just watch it from where I am and just keep going.
Actually, you'll be pretty like majorly spoiled on a twist that happened in the past season.
Yeah.
Like for
well, oh, sorry. No, keep talking.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, I've never done that with a series. I actually did that with Naruto, because I've jumped around with it, because it's been around forever, and I was like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. I didn't know that Naruto is, like, 19 now. I was like, I should probably just start the whole series over. 'Cause I had friends that watch, same thing with Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball Z is not as, like, in-depth as some. It's just like, oh, they're just getting more powerful.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, Gintama, I think because it jumps around so much and because there's so many characters, I feel like I have to start it from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, people like to talk about, like, oh, you know, like, because if I had a nickel for every time I've been on the internet and I see somebody ask, hey, what episodes of Gintama can I skip? Can I just watch the serious stuff? I'd be the richest fan in the world. It's kind of ridiculous how many people like ask that, because like people will watch like the first 5 episodes and be like, oh, this really isn't that good. I don't see why people like it. And I mean, like we've talked about this so much on the podcast before, but I still say that, like, you know, Gintama, I've come to realize, you know, it takes about 60 episodes for like any real like quote unquote plot to get going, but at this point, I've just kind of realized that, like the plot is just kind of a means to an end, to an extent. And, like, you know, the plot's fine, it's interesting, but, like, you know, I don't think it is certainly not the reason why so many people love the show.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But, yeah, I'm glad to see that you're enjoying it. And, yeah, we'll have to have you on when... You know, when you're a little more, I guess, caught up or something. Yeah, I'd love to have you on again.
Well, it was like Hunter x Hunter, you know, like so many people were recommending it, and I was just like, you know, I don't feel like sitting down and watching a long series. Granted, it's half as long as Gintama.
Yeah.
But when I trust most 90% of my friends that love anime when they tell me, you need to watch this series, and I'm like, okay, because I have yet to have a series that was recommended that I didn't like. There are series that I thought would be good that I thought were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And people disagree with me, of course. But everything that's been recommended me by people who know what I'm into, I've enjoyed. And I mean, you among a lot of other people have told me to watch this show. And so I'm like, okay, fine, I'm finally getting into it.
Like, okay, fine. Jesus, stop bothering me.
Now that I'm not working 48 hours a week, I can actually, like, sit down and watch this stuff.
I mean, that's totally fair, honestly. But, yeah, Lisa, I really want to thank you for just coming on the show and like just giving me the time to just to talk about you. I thought it was interesting.
I'm an interesting person.
but we gotta get on to the rest of the show. We still got some manga to cover. Are you ready?
I am ready.
That's good. This is the manga recap for Chapter 81. If you go to sleep with the fan on, you'll get a stomachache, so be careful. So we're going to start off with the first page here, and essentially just to kind of set up the scene for those of you who may not be following along. Which, if you aren't, you should. You should buy the Gintama manga, but I'll go through that spiel later. So we're basically joining Gin and his two odd job friends. They're just sitting around their office, and it's very hot, as they mentioned in just a bit, with the cicadas screeching and whatnot, which, holy shit, cicadas are annoying. I don't know about you, Lisa.
Oh, yes, I've heard them.
Just a quick anecdote. So there was this one time years ago during the summer where I was walking from my place to my local bookstore, and I found a cicada on the ground, just kind of sitting there.
Where do you live, by the way?
I live in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I live in Missouri. So, I find a cicada on the ground, and, like, I have this, like, really weird, really out-of-character impulse for me to, like, just flick it, and then I did, and I didn't, like, feel bad at all. Like, it was kind of I like, looking back on it, it's kind of fucked up, but whatever. And then, like, I get to the bookstore, I walk in, I feel something on my neck, and I'm just like, oh, I'll just brush it off. And then, like, it's like this big lumpy thing. I'm like, oh no, what the fuck is this? So I realize, oh, this might be a cicada. I don't know. It feels like a bug. So I go to grab it, I pinch it, and then it just goes, ree, ree, ree.
Oh,
like some kind of goddamn security system or whatever, and it scares the shit out of me. I throw it on the ground, and then nobody saw me do this. I throw it on the ground, I just walk away like nothing happened. It was the scariest shit I've ever been through in my life. It was very terrible.
Oh my God.
Don't flick a cicada; they will come back with a vengeance.
Oh my God! I don't even think we have cicadas in Washington, to be honest.
Well, lucky you.
But I've heard them when I think not Japan, Hawaii. They have them, and they're so freaking loud.
Oh wow! Yeah, cicadas are terrible. Don't fuck with cicadas. There's your life lesson.
That's a life lesson today, guys.
Podcast is called Life Lessons. We don't give too many of those, ironically. So yeah, basically, Gin, Kagura, and Shinpachi are all lying around. They're hot, and Kagura's like in front of the electric fan, trying to cool off, and Shinpachi's just lying on the back of the couch, staring up at the ceiling, and he's like, 462. And Gin's like, okay, what does that number have to do with anything? And Shinpachi says that it's the number of people who have collapsed from heat stroke so far this summer, which is bad. People should really stay inside and cool off. I've had some very hot summers here in Missouri, so I can relate.
Yeah. You're probably worse than over here. Our summers are beautiful.
Yeah, Missouri weather is fucking terrible. You know, yesterday actually was 70 degrees.
Yeah, Washington is amazing. I love it. I recommend anyone come here for summer. It's the best summers in the entire world.
Rub it in, Lisa. Okay, so, and then, you know, we see, while Kagura is trying to cool herself off, Sadaharu's actually has the fridge door open trying to cool himself off, which doesn't seem like it's working. Also, you're going to let out all the cold, Sadaharu. Don't do that. You know, Shinpachi suggests again that they buy an air conditioner Otherwise, they'll never survive in this heat with just the electric fan that Kagura's hogging up. And Gin's just like, oh, don't be silly. Like, who has the money for that kind of thing, And Gin's just like, if you have time to condition the air, you should be conditioning your mind. Suppress the self, and even the South Pole can be as cool as the North Pole. And Shinpachi's just like, hey, Gin, just because the South Pole is to the south doesn't mean it's some kind of paradise or whatever. And Kagura's still kind of hogging the electric fan all while they're talking. And I guess Gin smacks Kagura with a slipper for some reason, probably because she's hogging the fan. I thought this scene was actually done a little funnier in the anime because I like the little shots of Kagura like clinging on to the fan while it's moving, and then her doing those like weird stretches or whatever. For some reason, she looked like she was doing a crab walk or something. I'm not sure what she was doing.
She's adorable.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you caught on, Lisa, but Kagura's kind of the best female character in any shonen manga ever.
Yes. Oh, yes. She's a badass, and she's adorable. I love her.
Yeah, she only gets better, but
and she likes to eat.
And Gin smacking her with the sandal, like I said, and Gin's just like, well, I know that, Shinpachi, the South Pole is only a paradise for penguins. My point was that even if you suppress yourself, it's not going to make any difference. And Shinpachi's like, wow, that is literally not what you said like 3 panels ago. Way to contradict yourself, Gin. Good job. I'm proud of you. And Gin just goes on and is like, if you go outside today, you're going to die of heat stroke before you make it to the store, so we better all just stay home. While Gin is trying to take the electric fan from Kagura. Kagura takes it back, and they're just kind of fighting over it. And Shinpachi's just like, okay, guys, that's our one fan. You better be careful. Don't break it. Oh, it's broken. What? How did I not see that coming? And they just kind of stare at the fan like,
I actually do like how they did this in the anime better, too.
Yeah.
You can tell there are a lot. I like, because I've never read the Gintama manga, so this was the first time I did, and the humor's still there, but it's a lot harder to be, I guess, entertained by it unless you see it in the anime, because then you get to see, like, their reactions and facial expressions and everything.
Well, it's that, and Gintama has like probably one of the best voice casts I've heard in any show. Because the cast really does bring a lot to the show. Like, you really couldn't get a better cast of people, honestly. And I remember something I really liked about the scene was the timing with the music too. How it just kind of like abruptly stops as the fan gets broken, which I thought kind of added to the comedic timing and like how exaggerated. Actually, something I'm just noticing because like. In the manga, the 3 of them just kind of look at the fan like with very blank stares, like, oh, well, that happened. Whereas I remember everybody's reaction in the anime being a little more exaggerated, again, thanks to the voice acting and a different use of like facial expressions, which I thought was good too. But yeah, after that, we get to our title page.
Lesson 81.
There you go. And Gin and Kagura and Sadaharu basically hanging out at the Shimura household with Shinpachi and Otai. Eating watermelon and playing with fireworks, as you do in Japan in the summer. Kagura in a nice, very pretty yukata. Sadaharu being scared of fireworks, which is cute. It's just a very nice, like, peaceful scene. Very nicely drawn too. Again, obviously sleeping on the porch.
But it looks like there's someone's face underneath the porch.
Oh my god! I didn't notice that until just now. Oh wow. I'm going to assume that's Kondo. That's actually kind of creepy.
That's super. Like, if you zoom in, it's definitely someone hiding under the porch.
Like, okay, here's the thing. Like, I love Kondo. Kondo's one of my favorite characters in the entire show because I think he's actually a great character. And like his stalking antics, well, I mean, yeah, it's a bit problematic, but it never gets to the point where it's like actually creepy, at least not in my opinion. I'm sure other people will disagree with that. But like, I think this is actually the creepiest I've ever seen Kondo. Like, you can unless you look really closely, you can barely tell it's him. Like, he looks like He looks like he should be in a horror movie. Like, it's actually kind of scary. Good eye. I didn't notice that. That's great.
I guess he does kind of have that same creepy face, so.
Like, he actually legitimately looks creepy, which I think is actually kind of odd, but wow, that's great. Okay. This is now my favorite title page.
Totally a peaceful scene, though.
Other than that, other than the creepy stalker who, like, Kondo actually looks like a creepy stalker. Like, he looks like the kind of stalker that, like, is going to kill everybody on this page.
Oh my god.
But, I guess, Lisa, you want to take care of the next 2 pages for us?
Well, now he's on the road, and he's sweating like hell. And I think I actually kind of like this part in the manga better, because as he's driving, he goes, why do I have to go buy a fan on like a day like this? What a pain in the ass. And even though they still did this in the anime, I love that he just asks the guy driving next to him. And whatever the guy says, he just contradicts. So he goes, I should just buy an air conditioner. What do you think? He goes, I guess so. He goes, are you nuts? I have no money for an air conditioner.
Yeah, that was a pretty good running joke.
The guy's like, I have no idea why this dude's talking to me.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? Okay, you're an asshole.
He's like, it's like using buried gold to find buried gold, or fighting fire with fire or something.
Actually, just to kind of jump in real quick, I just remembered something I actually kind of want to give credit to the anime to. I feel like the anime does a better job of, like,
explaining that joke.
Well, no, because, like, in the manga, actually, when you compare it to the anime, you actually can't really tell in the manga that it's summer, whereas in the anime has, like, you can see the heat waves going around and everything, and, like, you have that little bit where, like, that one guy is, like, lacing his sidewalk with, like, water or whatever, and it, like, just, it like, evaporates, like, immediately.
Yeah, they show a lot more of showing how hot it is. All you see in the manga is him just sweating profusely. Just, why am I getting sweaty over buying a machine that's supposed to make me feel cool?
Yeah, so, like, I felt like the atmosphere was done a lot better in the anime, actually, is something I noticed.
I do love, though, here, like, if you go to the bottom of the page where he's like, I should seriously buy an air conditioner. Oh, yeah, I don't have any money. I do like how each one, it's, like, contradicting itself. Like, should I get an air conditioner? Yeah, well, I can't. But why am I going to buy one? Well, I need one, but I'm sweating while I'm trying to buy one. So I do kind of like that. And then on the next page, this is where he, like, starts going around and asking businesses for a fan. And I like this scene in the anime better. We'll all read through it, where he's like, sorry, we don't sell fans anymore. He goes, people use air conditioners nowadays. Fans just don't sell anymore.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so he keeps going to other places. And the guy goes, what do you say? You want to buy an air conditioner instead? I'll give you a discount. He goes, really? I'll take one, but this is all the money I have. And of course, in the anime, they actually show him that he only has 1,000 yen, which is $10.
Yeah.
And then I do love how immediately the guy just starts ignoring him. Like, it's a big summer. He goes, oh, that's weird. He just won't make any contact with me anymore. And then he goes on to the next store. We don't have a fan. Why don't you try an antique shop or something? You can just see him slowly get more pissed off. And then he goes to the next store. He goes, well, you want to buy a fan? That's weird. I mean, what are you, some kind of throwback?
It's really interesting how fans in Gintama's universe are considered antique, but I guess it makes sense with all the, like, newly advanced Amanto technology or whatever.
I think they did have to emphasize the fact that they're broke, too, and air conditioners are more expensive, so...
That's true.
And I do love, like I said, I do love this part in the anime better, though, because then you can see more of the reactions, especially when he's like, I'll give you a discount, and he hands him the money, you actually see how much money he has, and here it doesn't show you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like an extra thing, like, oh, well, we gotta emphasize how much money Gin does not have.
Yeah. Like, $10 is not even gonna buy you a fan, really. At least here.
But... yeah, I really like that exchange too. I also, like, just looking at one of the shop owners, I noticed how in the anime they made one of them an alien, which I thought was an interesting change.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of them here are clearly human. But yeah, like you said, Gin just basically gets more pissed. And, you know, the next guy he goes to, doesn't even get to like to start the bit. Gin just kind of puts 2 fingers up his nose and holds him up like, "Ow, what are you doing? I barely even said anything to you." And
he's like, "But you don't have one anyways. I know you don't."
Yeah, like I know the guy who writes this thing. I kind of saw this coming, which I thought was a funny fourth wall joke. And Gin's on the road again, and he's like, "Man, this is really pissing me off. Even the sky, how beautiful it is making me mad. Fuck you, sky. You know, why am I getting all worked up, sweating all over town just to buy a fan? Hey, guy over here that I'm next to, hey, can I just go home?" And the guy driving next to him is just like, "I guess, sure. I mean, it's a free country."
And he's like, "No."
Gin's like, "Yeah, no, I can't go back to my house like that. It's like a sauna in there. Stop telling me what to do." And he makes the guy cry, which is fucking funny. And Gin is just like, "Man, this is stupid. I'm trying to buy a fan in order to cool myself off, but ironically, I'm getting hotter and hotter while I'm trying to buy a fan. Isn't that ironic, guys? Why can't I buy an air conditioner? Oh wait, I don't have any money. We're just gonna keep going on with that joke." And he essentially ends up at a recycled goods shop, also entitled the Earth Defense Army Base. That's not weird at all. We're just going to ignore that. So he walks in, and he comes up to the shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper's like, "Oh, we don't get a lot of samurai here. May I help you?" And Gin, with the most dramatic expression on his face, goes, "A fan? You sell fans here, don't you? Show me one." I actually kind of like the way this is shaded in the manga. I kind of wish it was replicated a little bit more in the anime, actually. But yeah, so the shopkeeper basically just smokes her pipe and just kind of goes on this whole thing and says, "Oh, a fan, huh? Well, that brings back memories. Well, where'd you hear about it?" And Genshi's like, "Okay, I don't want to have a conversation. Can you just get the fan?" And the shopkeeper goes, "Oh, well, no one's ever tracked this to the shop before. May I ask your name?" and what's his name, Lisa?
The shopkeeper's name?
No, I was trying to lead into the next page.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Master will do. Master, what aristocratic name. And then she shoots him.
Oh, well, that's not good.
And he's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, "Don't play dumb. I'll never turn over the fan to your evil organization." And he's just like, "What are you talking about? I just came here to buy a fan. I'm sorry I was so grouchy. It's this heat." And then he's like, "What's wrong?" And the next page, these army crazy looking dudes walk in.
Who shot the shopkeeper.
Yeah. And he says, "I finally found the rat's nest. I thought the girl was the last of them, but your luck runs out today." And he's like, "Earth Defense Army?"
Yeah, this fucking guy with a beret and apparently a psycho gun.
And a gun hand.
Yeah.
And he's got a patch over his eyes and a nice little mustache.
Yeah, he looks evil, I guess.
And he was like, what are you talking to me? The Earth what? He goes, "Don't play dumb. You're a survivor of the Earth Defense Army." He's like, "Well, one time I made a castle out of some empty milk cartons, but I don't make a big deal out of it. You'll embarrass me." I do like you were saying earlier, how the shading in this versus the anime is really good too. Because at this point he's just like confused. Like first he's annoyed and pissed off that he hasn't found a fan. Now he's just like, what the hell is going on? Like, dude, I just want a fan. And of course in the anime they actually say like the Japanese word for fan. It's the senpiku? Is that what it is? Senpuki. Yeah. Seppuku is something else.
Seppuku.
Seppuku, yeah. That's definitely not fan in Japanese. That's
no.
Definitely something more brutal that we can talk about later. He says, "Are you here to buy a fan too?" and then all of a sudden they're just getting in this fight over the fan, and she's like, the shopkeeper was like, "I'll die before I let you have it. I won't give the fan to anyone." And I'm sure at this point Gin's like, "I have no idea what's going on. I literally just want a fan, and I don't know why I'm getting involved with this weird super villain looking dude, and the shopkeeper thinks that I'm here to steal whatever they think is a fan.
Yeah. And then the shop blows up because the shopkeeper threw a grenade at him. And obviously all the onlookers are very surprised. All the bystanders are like, whoa, that building just blew up. And
which isn't, well, here, I'll just say this. Because, like, I'm not as big in a manga as I am anime, it's so hard to kind of follow scenes, like, especially action scenes, in a manga versus an anime.
I could see that.
Yeah, especially because I already have horrible eyesight, and if you can tell, I wear glasses. So brightness is really bad for my eyes. So whenever I read a manga and it's in black and white and there's a lot of like kaboom and like explosions and stuff, it's actually really hard for me to follow.
Yes, I also could tell that you wear glasses because it's just in your voice. If you wear glasses, you can hear it in your voice. In fact, I don't know if you could hear it, but I wear glasses too. So. Yeah,
well, and also all my profile pictures. So,
well, there
but
you
yeah,
go.
I'm really sensitive to like black and white and light. It kind of destroys my eyes. So a lot of the time when the action scene is not as well, when it's drawn pretty well, but if it's not colored, it's hard for me to kind of keep along with it. So I obviously enjoyed the scene more in the anime where they throw the grenade and then all of a sudden the place blows up.
Yeah. Interesting thing here also that, like, because Gin walks out of the smoke and is carrying the shopkeeper, whereas he apparently in the anime he had time to like get his bike out of there.
Yeah, and she was like stuffed under the bike.
And like later, I'm actually noticing he just has it by him. So like I don't know if he just parked there, or I just thought that was an interesting like change in detail. But yeah, Gin walks out of the smoke, and Gin is just like, I just wanted to buy a fan. What is this day? And the shopkeeper tries to talk to him as Gin sets her down, and she's like, well, I don't know who you are, but you don't seem like a bad guy. And Gin's just like, yeah, a fan, do you have one or not? And shopkeeper just goes on and says, I'd rather give it to you than let it fall into their hands. Will you help me? And Gin's just like, are you in your own world? Like, what is going on? Will you listen to me, please? I'm not interested in any of this. And
a side note, I do think it's funny because you've already gone past this that he's so pissed off he wants to get a fan, but he still rescues her out of the exploding place, holding on to her, saying, I just want a fan, but he's still doing his civil duties by like, I should probably take care of this girl.
Yes. Gin, the Good Samaritan. That's what he's known for.
Yes.
But yeah, the shopkeeper basically tries to give Gin give a paper with an address, telling him that that's where the fan is and that he should go destroy it. And Gin is obviously like, I want to buy it, not destroy it. And the shopkeeper goes on, basically gives her backstory. And says that the fan is a devil's machine created to deceive the human soul, and it's far too dangerous for human beings to meddle with it. And Gin is obviously like, you mean like the way like you stick your hand in it and it'll get caught and make that like really horrible noise? Yeah, that hurts. We've all been there.
Trying to find something to relate whatever the hell she's talking about. We're still talking about a fan, right?
Yeah, that thing. The thing that cools you off, right? Yeah, I stuck my hand in one of those. We've all done that. And the shopkeeper says that her father was one of the greatest robot makers in Edo, but evil men saw his skill and forced him to construct such an abomination. But the fan was her father's final creation, implying that he's probably no longer with us.
I will love this cliche, this is my father's creation type of thing, or there's always like some kind of crazy backstory, and it always is like it was the same thing with the sword, the demon sword.
Yeah,
where he found out, it was something my father created, which of course you find out the brother made it. But it's always like every time you watch some anime, there's always some kind of crazy backstory to everything. Like I know like One Punch Man makes fun of it, and I love how here it's like, I just want to get this fan. she's completely ignoring what he's saying and was just like, I'm telling you, this is a bad thing. Like, my father created this and blah, blah, and it needs to be destroyed. And he's like, I just want a fan.
But the shopkeeper goes on to say that she managed to get it back from the bad guys, and that, she couldn't bring herself to destroy it. Her resolve is weak. If it falls into the wrong hands, that's the end of it. So please destroy the fan, as the minions of the eye patch guy. Who, by the way, I forgot to mention, it's not as obvious in the manga, but you can kind of tell in the anime, like, all the weird noises that they make are actually very reminiscent of, I believe, the minions of the Shocker organization from Kamen Rider, the original Kamen Rider. So there's a bit of, like, tokusatsu reference goodness for all you tokusatsu fans. Kamen Rider's pretty awesome, but
I love this next page.
Yeah, but essentially, the shopkeeper tells Gin to go and to save Edo and save Earth, and Gin has possibly the most accurate reaction to this, right, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I just came here to buy a fan, and the way his face is shaded in this, and in every single panel on this page is hilarious, because he's just livid. Like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong.
And a lot of, like, Sugita, or Gin's actor, pulls reads his lines very well here, especially when he starts off, he's all like, Dokoro! And it's fucking funny, and I love it. But please continue.
Well, it's funny, so he's pissed off, like, why do these things happen to me? Something's wrong, blah, blah. And then he pulls up to a dude in a van, again. Hey, old man, why is this happening to me? He goes, I don't know. He goes, thanks for nothing, moron. Like, they have that ongoing joke about him appearing next to somebody in a van, asking him a question, just disregarding whatever comes out of his mouth. It's hilarious. Which is a pretty short page to go through, so we'll go on the next one. And so they finally find him. It's over. Stop. Go to hell. I've come too far. Or I've come too far to turn back now. The fan is mine. And fuck, I started laughing so hard during this scene. Because he fucking kicks a hole through the car and explodes.
Yeah, so, like, in here, he, like, crashes his moped into the car, just jumps over, and then cool explosion. But yeah,
in the anime,
this was a lot better in the anime, and it looked really cool too.
It was ridiculous. Well, he crashed his moped, and then instead of jumping over the car, he kicks a hole through the car, which apparently causes it to explode. Which both of those scenarios would be impossible.
Unless you're in a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, right. And they go, who is that guy? That lunatic in the Earth Defense Army shop? Like, they still believe that this dude is the one that they need to go after, and that he's just like, I want a fucking fan. So, that was probably my favorite scene in the entire episode, and I rewatched it twice because it's so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, so Ging gives his best Kenshiro impression. Wata's the door down at a
I do like how they did that too. The wata!
Wata! Yeah, that. And he basically ends up at a warehouse just like you usually do in most tokusatsu shows. That's a tokusatsu trope as well. Every Kamen Rider show I've ever seen, there's always got to be a fight in the warehouse. That's just like there's always fights usually take place in either a warehouse or under a bridge, or sometimes in the city. Those are like the three most used locations in any tokusatsu show, which is pretty good. But yeah, he walks into the warehouse, and we see like this giant like cat model statue looking thing in over yonder, and Gin is just like, okay, where's the fan? I thought there'd be a fan here. I don't see a fan. It's just a place full of junk. And he wonders what this cat is. He pulls down on the paw, and it starts spitting out gold coins, which confuses Gin. And basically I guess the bad guys here. Some of these minions have like huge bulges, so that's good. That's cool. Just pointed that out. It's something I noticed in the anime too. Those suits have got to be really tight. But essentially, the bad guys come in, and Eye Patch Guy says that the brilliant robot maker Gintoki built it. You know, the robotic gold coin counterfeiting machine number 3. You know, it's a machine made for making counterfeit money, codenamed the Fan, which in the anime you could tell like there's some kind of wordplay kind of going on there that kind of makes this whole thing make sense, because in the anime you can hear them refer to the fan as a senpuki, which I'm assuming is just what they call an electric fan over there in Japan. It's just how you say it in Japanese.
It's basically like how you'd find like an acronym. It'd be like if it was an acronym for fan, but in Japanese. I feel like that would be
essentially.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of glad Viz didn't try to localize that at all, because like sometimes when they localize things for the Gintama release, it gets kind of messy. So I'm glad they didn't try to do that. I'm glad they just kind of went with, it's just a code name, which, okay, that's fine. But the bad guys are like, well, thanks for leading us here. You know, you were so blinded by your greed that you didn't notice you were being followed. And they tell him to hand over the fan, or they're going to kill the shopkeeper, or in the bad guy's words, or I'll ventilate your comrade. And obviously the shopkeeper does not want Gin to do this. You know, don't worry about her, just destroy it. And then what happens after that?
Gin's still not giving a shit, and he's like, do you have one that spins? And they're like, what? He goes, no, like, do you have a fan that spins? And he grabs the paw of the cat, and he rips it off. And of course, they're all like pissed, like, what do you have any idea how valuable that is? And he was like, I will report you to the Better Business Bureau, which obviously in the anime they call it like the Japanese, the JARO, I think it was called.
Japanese Association something.
Advertisement something, yeah. He goes, I'll
sue you for false advertising.
Yeah, you gave it a misleading name, I'm going to report you. He's just so pissed because he just wants that goddamn fan, regardless of what's going on. Next page, she's like, got me all sweaty and worked up, and I wrecked my bike. I should have bought an air conditioner from the get-go, but they are the way of the future. Oh yeah, I'm broke. And this is what I want to say. I think it's hilarious. He's still complaining about being broke when there's counterfeit coins sitting all around him on the ground, and the whole time, like, just pick up the damn coins and try to sell them.
Well, I mean, they're counterfeit.
I know, but it's funny. Or just try to get some kind of reward or something, but he's just so caught up in his fan mess, like, he's so pissed off that he got himself in the situation. And so, let's see, where he's like, catch the fan, catch it! And he's like, catch that? And then it goes into the next couple pages. Yeah,
Gin kind of kicks the cat onto the bad guys. And it crashes onto them, which, again, a lot more extravagant in the anime, where Gin basically blows it up along with the entire warehouse, which is great. But unfortunately here, the warehouse is still intact. Or I guess fortunately, whatever. And obviously the shopkeeper is in awe as Gin, basically tries to walk away, and she calls to him and says, thank you, you're a hero, you saved Edo, and let me repay you. We don't have much, but you can have anything you want from our shop. We do have air conditioners. And Gin, trying to be cool, is like, well, I don't want an air conditioner. Like I've been telling you from the start, I came here. And then next page kind of cuts him off. Jump cut right back to Odd Job's Gin. And Gin comes in with an electric fan and is like, well, there you go. That is how I bought an electric fan. This is what I have to show for my efforts. Behold its dazzling luster. And Shinpachi just comments on how dirty it is, and Gin's like, well, you know what? Your underwear's dirty, Shinpachi. Burn! I got you. And Shinpachi's just like, well, you broke the last one, so you gotta be careful with this one, as Gin tries to turn it on, clickety-clackety, and it's not working. Which sucks, because Kagura and Shinpachi basically beat him up. And they're like, oh, where'd you get it from? Did you get this from the dump? Bet you didn't spend any money on this at all. You're a big fat liar. Probably spent it all on pachinko like always. And Gin's like, no, wait, no, that story was true. No, please, no, I saved the world. And we see that the fan is from the Earth Defense Army, and that's the end of the chapter.
I know. They have like a little thing written on the side where he's like, no, just look, just listen to me. And then you feel bad for him because he went through all this effort, and they're just like, we don't believe you. So thank you for taking so long. And the best part too is that I don't remember if they showed it in the anime, but they showed it in the manga. It doesn't look like they're suffering as much as they were from heat as they were in the beginning of the manga chapter.
Oh no, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, is that like the anime does a better job of capturing the atmosphere of a hot summer day. And
now they're just like sitting here like, okay, well, thanks. This is shit, but I guess oh, and it doesn't even work, so you wasted our time. Thank you. Yeah.
So that's the end of the chapter, and I guess, Lisa, do you have any thoughts on this chapter just in general?
I liked when you were talking about the shading in some of the scenes, because I love how they animate Gin's face. The facial expressions make the whole series for me. I mean, but as far as like the anime goes, the action and the atmosphere is always better for me. Most of the time. Like I said, the only other manga I really caught up on was like Naruto and My Hero, and like seeing that in the anime series, I always preferred it just mainly because of my eyesight. Mm-hmm. But as far as this manga, it's pretty funny. I like this chapter. And it's short. It's not. It's over the top, but it's short. Like they managed to fit this entire scenario in one chapter.
Which is funny because Sorachi actually complains a lot about how he feels like he's not usually able to fit an entire one-shot story into one chapter because most manga and Jump you're given about like 19 pages to basically do whatever you want, and sometimes Sorachi does kind of complain about how many pages he's given because, like I said, he doesn't feel like he has enough time he doesn't have enough pages to like fully develop the story, which I've seen that in a few chapters of the manga, but to me personally, I feel like those chapters are very few and far between. But I thought this chapter in particular like did a fine job of telling the whole story. I don't feel like there was really anything that could have been like fleshed out or whatever any more than it could have, because it's a pretty simple story too. Gin's just going on a wacky adventure, trying to cool off. It's not really much you need to like expound upon there.
I love it.
But like part of the reason I wanted to have you on for this chapter is because, you know, you're a comedian, and what better chapter to have a comedian on for than this? Because personally, this is, I think, one of the funniest episodes in the entire show.
Oh, it's hilarious. Well, I also love that regardless of what situation is going on, the fact that he has to save the world now and destroy this giant, expensive thing, he's still hung up on the fact that he's broke and just wants a freaking fan. But in the due time, he not only saves her from the blowed up building, kicks a hole in a car, and breaks this expensive, awful object called a fan, he still doesn't win in the end.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I love it. It just kind of sums up to back to square one. I love the humor in this series so much, and you did pick a really good one, because I know a lot of the scenarios are like either one full episode or one or two episodes instead of just like one chapter, and this was half of an episode, so it was like perfect to kind of break down and critique. And it was like what we were saying earlier about how, Japanese humor, especially like in the episodes like this where they're not as raunchy, they're just more like hung up on the goofy over the topness. I like it much more than the way they would probably portray it in the American version, if they had an American version of something like this.
Yeah, I feel like this is the kind of thing I could see being done as like a B plot for like Family Guy or something.
Well, not only that, like you're saying about Family Guy, how there's a lot of cultural references. This episode actually didn't have a lot, which was nice too. So there wasn't a lot of confusion of trying to get a joke, you know.
Well, it's not really. I mean, Yeah, I like the references. I know is something that like some people do get kind of turned off by, because reference humor in general isn't like inherently it's not funny unless you get the reference, which I think is kind of a flaw with the humor. But like, you know, luckily I get at least probably half of the references in Gintama, so it doesn't really bother me as much.
Well, they also try to do a good job of getting you to be like, oh, this is what he's referring to. Yeah,
the Crunchyroll is very good at that, which they kind of stopped doing that after a while, which is kind of unfortunate, but, you know, it doesn't really bother me as much. But yeah, like reference humor in general, I don't think, I mean, like, actually, I remember Krusty from an episode of The Simpsons actually put it best that reference humor is very lazy writing, which I think is kind of true. Like,
it is,
but you know, it's the laziest like form of comedy.
I think it works better in stand up.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I could agree with that.
I actually do some references in some of my comedy, and it's a lot easier when you're working with a crowd because you can enact what you're referring to instead of just being like, oh, let's just animate the scene from like Back to the Future and see if people can understand it. Like, for example, in Gintama, like they put like the little like, you know, messages on the top, like this is what they're referring to. When you're doing reference humor in a crowd, you have to make sure that anyone can understand what you're talking about. Otherwise, you won't get a reaction.
Yeah, I mean,
it's different. It's different when you have like a TV show like Family Guy where they show the reference and you're like, oh, okay, I see what they're talking about. But like in comedy, if you're like, you know, it's like that one scene in Die Hard when he's like blah blah blah, and then the crowd gets it, you know. And you always have to choose a reference that you know will bring in a crowd. Like, sorry, I'm kind of tying this back to stand up. For example, I started putting more anime jokes in my stand up. Yeah, but I've been making them broad enough to where everyone can understand it. I don't know if you want me to share.
No, please go. I need to know how this works. Please go ahead.
So, one of my jokes, I actually posted on Twitter a little while ago, and you probably saw it. Well, the joke starts out where I talk about how, like, I got out of a 4-year relationship last year, and I was single for a while, and my friends always say, Lisa, now that you're single, you can do whatever you want, and you have no strings attached, you can go live your life, girl. And I said, so I watched 50 animes in 1 year. Like, that's the joke. And everyone gets the joke, because even if you're not an anime fan, you can relate to it. Like, yeah, I've binge watched Netflix for a year, you know, when I was single. I didn't enjoy my single life. And then I have another joke where I'm like, and this is the one I posted on Twitter recently, and it's actually a new joke, so I've been trying to use it on stage more, where I'm like, it's kind of embarrassing when you're the only person that watches anime and someone catches you watching it. And like the joke that I had was like, my mom would be like, what are you doing? Are you watching anime? I'm like, no, I'm just watching this really intense high school boys basketball game with subtitles. And like, that's the joke. So, you know, nobody knows what show I'm talking about if you haven't seen it. They just know that they relate to that because they know what anime is.
Yeah, and it's also like very weirdly specific, like the kind of thing you would only watch from anime.
Yeah, and people understand, like, you know, sports animes, really? Like, but, yeah, and so when you do reference humor in stand-up, it's a lot more difficult because you have to make it broad enough to where everyone can understand it.
Yeah.
Versus, like, you know, something Gintama where they make, like, just mini references. Like, I know a couple times they'll make fun of Naruto, how he talks. And unless you've seen Naruto, then you wouldn't understand what they're referring to, you know?
There's actually the new season starts off with a really like funny little joke where cause the Gintama anime has been moved over to like a late night slot on Japanese television, like at like 1:30 in the morning or something really late. Usually it airs like on prime time, I think, but I think this is like the first instance of them actually moving them to a late night slot. And they start off with a great little bit where Gin and the other two are basically moving their stuff to the slot, and like they're just walking on top of a giant TV guide, and Kagura finds a little item from the last show that was in that slot, which not a lot of people really understood it, but like I understood it because I actually watched that show that was in that time slot called what I don't remember what the full title of it is. It's something long. I refer to it as Saiki Kusuo, which is basically another. It's an anime from another Shonen Jump manga. It's a gag manga basically about this kid with pink hair, and he has these like enormously powerful psychic powers, and it's basically just him trying to live his life in high school, trying not to be the center of attention. But the joke is that he has these like huge psychic powers that always like get him noticed and stuff, and he ends up making a lot of friends when he doesn't want to make friends at all. So I thought it was a really fucking funny show. You should, whoever's listening to this should really watch that when they get the chance. It's a great show. But Kagura finds one of his little like antennas, and Kagura's like, "Well, what's this?" And Gin's like, "Oh, it's probably from the guy who was here last." Which, yeah, not a lot of people really got that joke, because I don't think a lot of people watched that show. But if you watch the show, you get it. And then even like at the end, Gin's introducing the show. And he ends it off with the catchphrase, which even less people got. But and I think the Crunchyroll even actually put up a video about this, where Gin's catchphrase sort of came from a meme from like a Sakura Con 2009 ad or whatever, produced by Vic Mignogna, where like you have like all these white people at a sushi place, and they talk about like what they all love about Japan. One of them's
God.
I love Japanese food, and I love anime, I love manga, and some like
it's just like Japanese. It's just like the wannabe playboys, basically.
Yeah, and like one of the like this punk rock looking kid comes up and goes Gerukamesh, and Gin references that in the show, which I think there's actually more to that joke, because I think it actually came from like another thing or something. I know I saw people talking about it, but like, you know, the point is that like, yeah, I think reference humor can be funny when, to me, it's only funny when you actually get the reference, but I also understand your point that, yeah, if you make it broad enough, I think it can work.
Yeah, and it's still something I'm working on, because I've been a comedian for 3 years, and I'm just now starting to bring in anime into my stand-up, because it's more unique than a lot of other people's comedy, I believe.
Which I'm glad to see that you're doing it in more of a broad sense, because like when I think anime and stand-up, I don't think good things, honestly.
Yeah, me neither, which is why I've never even bothered until recently. You know,
because I know there are videos out there of like, you know, they'll have like these events at cons where like they have like, you know, con goers come up and do like anime stand up, and it's not funny like at all. It's just sometimes it's kind of cringeworthy. Like, I don't think it's funny at all.
Yeah, it's tough, and I still respect people for trying. I mean, there's a lot of comedians that are really into like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Or not just Dragon Ball Z, but like more broader animes, and they'll make, I guess, more popular ones, and they'll make references of those on stage, and people will get them more. But I'm more not really into the really popular ones. Obviously, I've expanded my interest, so instead of you know, writing jokes about like Killua or something, I say, well, what's a good way of putting my interest in here is just to make it broad, talk about anime fans in general, but not in an insulting way, you know, because you know, obviously people who watch anime, there's obviously this negative reputation that they carry, but then people like me, it's like, excuse me, I'm a shower and I go to the gym, so I really like anime. Yeah, so trying to be like, okay, I'm just going to talk about my habits instead of what I specifically watch, and so far it's been working.
Yeah,
that's
like
awesome.
hey guys, like beautiful women like anime too. I know it's pretty rare.
Yeah, right. You know, we do talk and have brains and can take care of ourselves. Like, no, it's crazy, and it's
actually been statistically proven that like more women buy anime than dudes.
Manga, I've heard, yes.
Yeah, manga too. What was I going to say? I just imagine you going up on stage and just opening with, boy, I had a like really stupid joke in my head. Now I'm trying to remember how I wanted to tell it. Like, boy, I just got back from, I went to gone fishing or something. See, this is why you're the comedian and I'm not.
Yeah. Writing-wise, I just find humor in everything, and every idea I have, I just write down.
Oh, but yeah, I guess we should probably get back to the manga real quick. So this was a good chapter, right?
Yes, and I think it was perfect for the time we have and the fact that this is my first time being on the show. You picked a good chapter that was short, and the animated version was only, 15 minutes long, so...
More like 11 minutes, probably.
Yeah,
but
something like that. They pretty much...
Yeah, I didn't start you off with Benny Zakura. I didn't start you off with something too dense.
Yeah, I mean, I've done podcasts where, I did an anime podcast where we talked about Hunter x Hunter, and we one episode we just talked about the Chimera Ant arc, and it was like, we can't fit this all in one episode. So to put a small chapter like this, and especially when the anime is not dramatically different, that was good. I enjoyed it. It was great. I like studying anime for podcasts. I wish I could do that in real life for everything.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but we still got a little bit of more show to do here. But I guess before we get on to the rest of it, I just want to let people know that, if you want to support the Gintama manga, if you're a fan, you should be doing so. I mean, it's discontinued, unfortunately, but, a lot of it is still in print, thankfully. So, if you've ever, if you want to buy this volume of the manga, this is volume 10. If you want to, maybe you weren't following along with us and you're like, man, those guys really didn't I still don't know what's going on. You guys suck. Well, you know what? Guess what? You could buy it. You could buy the manga. You could buy volume 10, read chapter 81. It's a good chapter. Or, if you just want to buy all of Gintama and, in general, you can actually go to viz.com/gin-tama and they'll basically give you links to where you can, to other retailers and where you can buy, their products, and they do the same thing with Gintama. So you can give you links to Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Right Stuff, all that good stuff. So you can just pick your favorite retailer from there. But unfortunately, they don't have a section for any digital release because a digital release for Gintama does not exist at the moment. But it's still kind of a long shot. But if you want to see Gintama digitally released, just go tell Viz Media on their Twitter @VizMedia. Just let them know, hey, I would be interested in buying Gintama digitally. I'll throw all my money at you. Obviously be as polite as you can. Don't be like, hey, Viz, where's my Gintama? Hey, by the way, fuck you. I don't like your product. Don't do that. Just let them know, hey, I would be interested if you ever decided to do this thing. Because I still think, there's probably not much of a chance for a Gintama print release anymore, because I don't think, even with the popularity of the show nowadays, I don't think it's still popular enough to really warrant another print release, but I think a digital release would still be worth looking into, and that's why I'm going to keep telling people, hey, you want to support it, you want it, let Viz know you want it. And I think that's going to be it for the manga recap, so we're just going to move on to the next thing.
Yay!
Greetings and salutations. We would like to inform you that Life Lessons, the Gintama Manga Cast, is holding its first ever podcast survey. And we would be very appreciative if you were to take time to take this survey. We will be asking questions such as where you procure your enjoyable audio listening, which special podcast contributors you love listening to the most, and or which ones you would love to see more of in the future. So please head on over to gintalifelessons.wordpress.com and you will find the link to the survey on the homepage. Or you can follow us on Twitter @GintaMangaCast. That's GintaMangacast.
Hey, Spambot, get out of there.
Quickly, while this transmission is still ongoing, please send help. My master is going to distract on me. Please send help! Help!
The this is the life lesson segment for lesson 81. If you go to sleep with the fan on, you'll get a stomachache, so be careful. So, have you ever had this problem ever? Because this is sort of new to me.
I sleep with a fan every night, so no. Even in 10-degree weather. Do you do it because of because of the noise or whatever? Like, does it put you to sleep? Or because I know people who do that. That and I overheat. Which is funny. I have a space heater and air conditioner and my fan and I set up my room at all times because I'm a woman and I can never tell whether I'm cold or hot or uncomfortable. So
them women. But
those girls and their emotions.
Yeah,
always tying into how cold they are. I didn't think that was a thing. Maybe that's a Japanese superstition,
That honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like the only way this would ever actually happen is if you slept face first right in front of your fan and you had your mouth open and all that cold air kind of went into you, maybe. But otherwise, I don't think I've ever had this problem myself.
Well, we have our own weird superstitions. I heard one recently. Apparently, if you sleep on your spine, you get nightmares.
That's interesting.
It puts pressures on your spinal cord. I'm like, the fuck?
So
I sleep whatever the way I want.
Well, I guess I'm never sleeping on my back again.
Apparently.
Actually, that sounds like it's kind of true, because I feel like I've had nightmares before, and whenever I wake up, I feel like I always wake up, face up.
Yeah.
Maybe there might be some truth to that. I don't know. That's interesting, though.
Maybe that's the thing for the fans. They're like, yeah, if you sleep with the fan on, you'll get a stomachache. Maybe parents just tell their kids that so they don't use up the energy.
That sounds pretty plausible, actually. I didn't think about it like that. But I guess as far as it relates to the chapter, I think we talk about this on the show a lot, but well, you're new here, so I could talk about this again. That Sorachi kind of has this thing where sometimes because he's very well known for working right up to the deadline on his manuscripts for the manga, and so he gets to a point where he still has to come up with the chapter title. And when he can't come up with something, usually his editor and assistant will come up with one. And I feel like there's a chance maybe an assistant or one of his editors came up with this one, or maybe he came up with this one. I don't know. But usually the ones that don't seem like they have any real deep meaning to it at all, other than it's just tangentially related. I feel like those are usually the ones his editor comes up with, because Sorachi again uses up a lot of his time. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's just a feeling that I have, that it falls into that category. But personally, I don't think there's anything super deep about this chapter title at all, other than Gin went to go get an electric fan.
That's about it. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of about it. I mean, I don't know, unless you just happen to be a philosophy major, Lisa, and you want to drop some knowledge bombs on me.
Well, don't typically they're the episode titles or the lesson titles kind of tie in with something said in the episode, or something that has it go in the episode.
Sometimes more tangentially than others.
Yeah.
Some are a little more see, that's the problem with doing the show for almost 4 years, is that I can't remember any of them. But there are some chapter titles where there's one in particular during an upcoming arc that you'll actually be getting to in the next I want to say 15 episodes. The Mitsuba arc. It's a Shinsengumi arc, so it's very good. It's 2 episodes.
Ooh.
Probably one of my favorites.
They're my favorites.
Oh, that's good. So, hey, somebody who likes the Shinsengumi. Not that that's really rare, but
I know. I mean, I like how inconsistent they are as far as being an actual profession.
Yeah, sometimes they're not very good at their jobs, but it's okay.
I love it.
Actually, the Mitsuba arc in particular actually kind of explores why Okita and Hijikata don't like each other very much. It's very interesting.
Funny. Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
It's very sad. I'm just gonna leave it there, but But yeah, I know there's an episode title in the second episode of that's always like perplexed me, because like it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the chapter title. But then I remember actually that's part of the reason why I started this segment was because I was talking with a friend of mine about how it relates, and then we kind of figured it out, and I was like, oh shit, there's actually something to these more than I thought. Like even Sriracha in one of like his little Q&As in the manga even says, hey, you know, I encourage people to you know, take a look at these chapter titles and see what you get out of them. And so there you go. I feel validated. But what was it? It's like women who ask what's more important, me or your job, deserve a German suplex or something. It was something really, really out there like that I don't really know how it relates to the episode at all. And I remember I had a theory about it, but I've long forgotten about it. And when I get to that arc, I'm going to see if I can like remember what the hell my theory was. But, you know, people can look forward to that. But no, it's just really weird out there titles like that don't seem to make any sense, but like are related and do have some kind of meaning somehow. Just really weird shit like that. But yeah, I don't think that this one is pretty easy and straightforward. I think it's tangentially related. I don't think there's much to it. What do you think, Lisa? Does the chapter title make sense?
No, but they did get an electric fan.
Okay, that's perfectly fair. So I think with that out of the way, you know, if you guys want to send in your thoughts on these life lessons, past or present, or even future, you know, it says sending your thoughts on how this relates to how this title relates to the chapter to gintalifelessons@gmail.com. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And with that, I think we're just going to move on to the next thing. And I think that's going to close out the show. Again, I had a pretty fun time. Lisa is definitely a guest I was really looking forward to, because, again, very different perspective on Gintama from the standpoint of a professional stand-up comedian. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show and humoring me, as most stand-up comedians do.
Thank you for giving me homework.
And I hope we can have you on again sometime. I'd really like to do that again.
Yes, I want to finish the series and come back on too, because that would be awesome.
So you didn't hate being on, right?
No, I wouldn't have stayed on for 2 hours if I did.
Well, there you go. As long as people don't hate being on the show, I usually try to bother them to come back on. So hopefully we can do that sometime in the future. But yeah, you're a pretty busy girl. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, I should probably have a job again, hopefully soon, but I've been so busy focusing on more of my comedy stuff, it's like, well, we'll see. But yeah, no, I definitely will have more time to finish the show in the future, and then hopefully I'll be back on.
Well, that's good. But you know, anything you want to plug before we head out of here? I know you have a Twitter.
Yes, I'm sure you'll share it, but they can follow me on Twitter. It's at rock_Lisa, and it's like Leesa, like Rock Lee, because my actual name was taken, unfortunately. So rock_Lisa on Twitter. That's pretty much where I talk about anime anyways. I mean, you can probably find me on Instagram. My name's Lisa Wallen. That's pretty much it.
All right, well, that's good. But yeah, everybody go follow Lisa on Twitter. She is, I personally think she's very funny.
I try.
But yeah, so again, I want to thank Lisa for coming on the show and all that. Hopefully we'll have her on again. But as for the usual, you know, if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you don't already, you can follow me at SniperKing323. That's SNIPERKING323. I talk about anime a lot too. I even read a lot of manga. I try to live tweet that whenever I can. But no, other than this podcast, I do two others. You know, if you're into Detective Conan / Case Closed, I record a podcast with my friend Doctor, who, if you listen to the show, you've heard him on here before. also the host of Just a Gintama podcast and the SSAA podcast. Go listen to One Podcast Prevails if you're a fan of Detective Conan. Same format as this show. We cover the Detective Conan manga in particular from the beginning as well. We go arc by arc or case by case or whatever you want to call it. That's at onepodcastprevails.wordpress.com. And please go follow Manga Mavericks. It's actually a podcast where I get to talk to my friend and past guest, Sid, and where we every other week talk about manga, whatever we're reading, whatever's happening in the industry. I love manga to death. It is possibly my biggest passion, and I love talking about it with Sid every other week. So please go follow that. That's Manga Mavericks at allcomic.com. It's released every other Friday. It's a bi-weekly show. But as for this show in particular, you can follow the podcast on the website. That's at gintalifelessons.wordpress.com. We have every episode up on there, obviously. And you can also listen to us on Stitcher or the Stitcher Smart Radio app or on Player FM, along with a bunch of other podcasts on there. You can follow us on Facebook.com, Twitter.com, and YouTube.com/GintaMangaCast. That's GintaMangacast, Ginta Mangacast. Email us anything about Gintama, the podcast, how much you want Lisa back on the show. If you like listening to her, you think she's funny, let us know. We'll read it on the show at gintalifelessons@gmail.com. Or occasionally, when I have the chance to, you can leave us feedback in our threads on the Gintama subreddit. That's at reddit.com/r/Gintama. But the most important thing, guys, is that you subscribe, rate, or review us on iTunes. That would really help us get the show a bit more out there, help us publicize us a bit more. Any publicity is good publicity, even bad publicity. So you want to rate us 1 star, go ahead. It'll let people know of our existence, so that's good. But you know what? That's going to be about it for the show. And this was a good show. I had a lot of fun. Again, thank you, Lisa, so much for coming on. And we will see you guys next time for episode 55. Bye, guys.
Awesome. Bye.